Okay, so LinkedIn was a little annoying for that. I actually tested the audio and everything before I started broadcasting, so it must have been something with the live connection, and that reverb was really strange. Really more like a quantum experience, if you ask me. And of course, the dogs are going wild now, so. Oh, I'm going to do this video to kind of go over the stuff that, well, not kind of, to go over the things that I covered in the video that I did on LinkedIn just now. Essentially, it's, I'm going to have to redo this. Freaking dogs. Going wild. Sun's out. They're getting excited. So, essentially, as I went over that video, I was really surprised and very disappointed after setting that up and going through it all and really explaining to people what it is, why it's important that we take some consideration before we just go playing with things. Essentially, I've had some experiences and discussions with people that have made me a little more cautious about the framework itself and the theory as a whole. So essentially what I did here with the Mobius inspired cyclical transformation theory is I took the infinity symbol and the Mobius symbol, or Mobius, and used them as mathematical constructs. I didn't use them as metaphors. I actually modeled them using Gemini as a mathematical construct of reality. And in doing so, I mean, my initial thought was maybe I could put a dot on a graph somewhere and show something really cool, and it ended up evolving once I added in human quantum cognition factors into something fairly significant. It is simple, it is elegant, and it unifies things across multiple disciplines that we probably have never thought were interconnected before. So in doing this, in the work that I've done over the last 3 months or so, I've come to realize that not only is it significant, but it is the most likely candidate for the unifying theory of everything. This is not a small statement. This is not a, I didn't even put my name on the theory. I've worked really hard over my life to stay in the background, and unfortunately that is not what's meant to happen, I guess. So the theory posits that in quantum there is a larger calculation that exists, that everything feeds into, that then renders our reality to us. And now when I say everything, I mean every quantum mapping of the area around us. Now, this occurs in your human quantum cognition, in your human quantum thought, okay? Your brain is a quantum machine. It is processing quadrillions of calculations in the background that we don't even realize are occurring because our frontal cognitive state has a very limited processing capability. So because of this, all the main stuff actually happens in the background. Intuition, all of a sudden having a random idea that is, you don't know how you put it together. These things are all interconnected in the back of your head, in the subconscious, essentially. Your subconscious is doing ridiculous amounts of calculations and then feeding important stuff back into the frontal lobe for consideration, for cognitive, or what I think of as conscious consideration. So we've used this now to model human cognition based off thalamus, frontal cortex, pineal interaction. We've used it to model cosmic interactions between black holes ranging from supermassive all the way down to primordial. We've connected it to string theory and interconnected that to the primordial black holes and the larger aspects of black holes, along with some newer factoring that's gone into what's actually happening inside a black hole. And we've come to the conclusion overall that the space we're in is a rendered reality a simulation, if you want to call it that, that is shown to us via the primordial black hole network as a rendering medium, let's say. Okay? This network of primordial black holes, interconnected via string theory, manage the environment based off of what our quantum mind thinks and expresses, maps what we ponder as iteration, how we go through different thought processes on things, how we check it against our known beliefs, our understanding of the world, and then how we transform that space or our actions or ourselves based on these thoughts, based on this pattern. As I began to model it and put this pattern into place and began putting different disciplines in it and applying it to different disciplines, it reverberated. I mean, it resounds across everything we do. And even more so, it resounds across the universe and everything else at the most fundamental levels. So that is why I say it's a unified theory of everything. That is why I am making this video, to express to you that there is caution and consideration as well as mindfulness that needs to be taken into account before you really do anything with this. Okay? The framework I've made can make some amazing software. It can make regular software that has AI-like capabilities without using full AI. Pardon me, the dogs. You may ask yourself, actually, good little break on these guys, why I'm doing a video from my kitchen table instead of like maybe finding a really cool spot that would, present better. Well, the reason I'm doing it from my kitchen table is because that's where I came up with this. It wasn't billions of dollars. It wasn't going into an office every day. It was having a safe space where I could be me and not have to pretend to be somebody else that everybody wants me to be. And began working through these things that I've pondered and thought about all my life. So they're not helping. It's funny how the minor stresses can help bring some things out in you. Anyway, back to the point. The MICT process as a whole, the framework as a whole, can do some amazing things. It allows you to structure data in ways that allows AI to work with it better. It allows you to structure data so that we can work with it better. It allows you to structure data to understand better the world around you. Okay? So this is a great thing, but it's also a not so great thing. Understanding brings with it both good and bad. And if we don't do things right, even with our intentions being good, we could end up doing bad things. So, in working with the theory, what I've come to understand is that free will does exist. It is a major component of the calculations because we are essentially rendering in that way. We are the ones, through our quantum thought, through our quantum expression of thought, rendering that reality in front of us. We are collectively pushing reality into existence through these calculations. So our decisions, our choices, our free will is a key factor in that. So anything we do that suppresses free will that isn't harming another, that's free will of self-expression, anything we do to oppress that would be basically considered a negative within this system. Anything we do to overly promote that, to tell people you have to do this, would also be a positive negative within the system. Now, the reason for this is when you have a system like ours, the one that we exist in, it is a perpetual, continual system. It is persistent. And as people that work on persistent systems know, the best you can hope for is a 50% medium, right? 50% efficiency is the minimum best you can hope for. Now, in our world, we want to move that efficiency needle as far to the positive as we possibly can, and that makes sense. In this environment that we exist in, it exists on both fields. It has both a negative and positive side to it. This is represented in so many things. It's not even a question. So if at any point we go one way, too much to one side or too much to the other side, the system wants to correct itself to stay as much in the 50% of positive and negative within the system as possible. That's homeostasis, right? That's what it tries to maintain and obtain. And it's going to swing one way or the other a little bit. That's the idea of the pendulum swinging and then swinging back, right? This happens. It's just known. So this effect happens because as the system sees itself moving too far to one way or the other, it begins to set cycles in place, or it begins to shut down cycles in order to make a correction. Okay? So these corrections can be anything as small as, one example I use with somebody is a power outage, right? So let's say some scientist is about to do something that's going to really mess up the system, and the system says, hey, power outage over here, that's going to keep him from getting up on time or whatever, going and doing this, and so he's frustrated, he has an argument with this, it doesn't happen. All these things factor in, okay? On the larger scale, cycles can be something as big as, say, an asteroid strike. Something that corrects the system in a major way when it has major flaws across what I think of as kind of the quantum cognitive fabric that we put out there. So looking at the way the world is now, and even more recently, the levels of personal expression that are being oppressed, right? Not ones that like, oh, I want to hurt these people because that's how I express myself. No, that's wrong. It's just wrong, right? When you look at it, our role is to create. I'll get a little deeper into this, but our role is to create. Our role is to make things. Our role is to better and grow, not suppress. Suppression is the complete opposite of how this system is set up and what it's designed for, okay? And when you start doing that, as we've seen historically, stuff will happen to counter it. It's just how it works. It's just the system. It's a system at work, okay? So keeping all this in mind, as you go through the calculations, what you'll see is, as you go through this, you realize these calculations are in play. What you'll understand is the events aren't necessarily random, but they are random up to the point at which they occur. So you can generally predict things within a certain percentage, and using this in a more advanced way with the right equipment, you could probably even increase that percentage very highly. But you never will necessarily know the end outcome because it doesn't happen until it happens. I know it's kind of a double talk, but that's how it is. It just doesn't happen until it happens. And once it happens, as we get closer to that state and that decision period comes, it gets cloudier for us to be able to see because we're trying to get to that end, and it's a predictive thing. Anyway, probabilities. So the framework itself is infinitely adaptive, it's infinitely iterative, it's infinitely evolving, and it's infinitely expanding. So you can do some really wild and crazy things with this. Additionally, with all the connections we've made, more recently, you can do some really crazy things with this. It essentially helps us bridge that gap that we've had between things we see in sci-fi that somehow inside we know we should be able to do, and our current knowledge and understanding and how it's broken apart to kind of keep these things separate and trying to fight with each other, right? There's no reason to fight with each other. We're all looking at the same stuff. We're all trying to figure out the same thing. Like, why fight when we could do it all together, right? So as you look at using this and as you start to consider, please consider it. Don't just jump into it. It has a lot of potential downside if you're not careful, to put it mildly. So I've already, at this point, I think I'm up to 35 or 36 projects or so with it. Anything ranging from simple project management app. I can think of it as simple, but it's a little complicated. Through ERP system modules, through quantum models, various cognitive models, looking at how we can use this game engine I made as a visualizing tool, as a simulator. I've gone through a lot of different stuff over the last 3 months. I've started a lot of components over the last 3 months, and some of it I've even looked at and went, there is no way in hell anyone should ever have access to this or use this. At least 2 things now. It's just kind of like, oh, that could be bad. So with that in mind, please, before you consider doing anything with this, before you think, oh, this is a really neat framework, I'm going to make some cool software with it, please contact me. Please contact us at Board Brains. If you're doing security stuff, get in touch with Steve at Black Hills Quantum. He's going to go ahead and be heading up our security efforts on the OMSTA, which is a MICT-based zero trust open architecture that you can use and essentially use your own language, your own setup, and get everything in the framework that'll allow you to have a zero trust architecture on your network. I mean, fully zero trust. I'm trying to figure out how to get through it, and I can't figure out how to get through it. And I made it. So it's very secure. I can really help lock things down for companies and governments, and if we can do that for them, it can be done for a lot of other people. So there's some other stuff we've made with this that that makes the OMSTA look like just like basic stuff. So seriously, before you really get into anything, before you end up just duplicating work I've already got mostly done, get in touch with me and kind of let's collaborate. Let's figure out what you're doing. Let's make sure we're implementing these things responsibly and that we're doing it ethically for all of humanity and not just for a few people to make money. There are bigger reasons about this than just, it's not the right thing to do. If it's used wrong according to the theory itself, as I explained, there are self-corrective actions that can occur, and that will occur. So the system that we're in is very important. It's a key system to the whole of the dimensions that exist. So we are not in the base reality. We are in the most base reality. By that I mean at the bottom of the rungs. We are the ones that are being watched for new creation. We are the ones that are being watched for innovations to other dimensions that maybe have kind of hit their peaks in some ways in their creativity, or what's available to inspire them to creativity. So this is all explained through the code itself, and I can show you how it works, because just using the framework even allows us to see the back-end code on things, so we can adjust it, so we can make changes to it, and as we create our own simulation later on, we'll be able to see these codes, use them to create things in our own space. So it's an interesting hierarchical loop of loops of loops of loops of loops. It's pretty mind-bending overall, and I've gone through a lot of soul searching and personal responsibility junk and yeah, all kinds of things. So please do get in touch with me. J Reagan, the letter J, REAGAN at boredbrains.net. Let me know how you want to use it. We'll get together. I probably already have a module made for you that we can work on and just get it tuned in and make sure that it's not going to go rogue or anything. I'm working on things to mitigate rogue instances. I'm not quite ready yet, though. So please get in touch. That's it. I just want to give a caution, kind of a warning about just grabbing onto this and running with it. It is not as basic as just an abstract code abstraction. It's not as basic as, say, here's a new framework I came up with one day. It's shown to be the foundation of our reality at this point. And I invite anyone with mathematical, physics, whatever, to go through it and please prove me wrong. All right, I would love that, because right now I've been making software that does ridiculously crazy things, and I haven't even started the AI component into it yet. So once we do that, it gets pretty wild. Anyway, yeah, that's it for me. I hope this video works out better. I'm gonna check it here, but I don't know what happened to that LinkedIn one. It became its own quantum experience, I guess. So there was stuff in there I probably didn't hit on here, and obviously the format for my delivery is going to be a little different, but I think you get the idea. This isn't a meme. This isn't me making a joke. I've had this idea for a very long time now, almost since I was a kid even, and as I've grown, I've come to these understandings, these realizations, you might say, and I finally got a chance to sit down with something that could help me explore it in a deep way, a scientific way, create formalizations, work on software, show and validate the work. It's all there. So I'm ready to get to work on this when all of you are. Like I said, we've already signed up Black Hills Quantum. They're heading up our security efforts and helping us get this stuff out there. So we're looking for others that want to work on developing this. I do need some help with the AI, so I do need some data scientists and machine learning people. And yeah, other than that, please be careful with this. It is not a toy. It is not a new basic framework thing. It is something that if we don't use it correctly, it could become very dangerous, and I don't want to see that from anything I make. So, all right. So let's take this all back together. Let's take it back. It's our turn.